Good morning, everybody. Brian Zimmerman, digital content editor for Jazziz magazine, here to welcome you to another episode of Jazziz Daily Brunch. I hope you like our spiffy new intro there. Thanks to Jeff, our video guy, for putting that together. Anyway, thank you for remembering what day of the week it is, that it's a weekday and it's 11 o'clock. And I know these times are crazy, but we appreciate you. We certainly appreciate you tuning in. We're having a lot of fun with these videos, and we have a week of great content in store for you. Before we get into that, though, I want to take a minute to thank this episode's sponsors. That would be Mac Avenue Records. They've been putting you on the road to great music for 20 years now. They've got a new album out right now by Jimmy Green called While Looking Up. It's a phenomenal album. Jimmy is an excellent sax player, and they got another album out right now by Tower of Power. You know, what is hip? All right, I won't do any more of that to you. Melt your eardrums. But that's called Step Up. That's out right now. To check out all the latest on Mac Avenue Records, go to macavenue.com. Also wanted to take a minute to talk about our latest issue on newsstands now. So subscribers have already got it in their mailbox, but this is it. I've got myself a brand new copy right here. Bird is the word. This issue is all about Charlie Parker and his centennial. Charlie Parker would have turned 100 years old this August. So this issue is full of great content on Charlie Parker. We talked with today's top alto saxophonist about Parker's legacy. We take a deep dive into Parker's discography. It's a really great issue. We're really proud of it. You can check it out. All the content is online. It's been digitized. It's online. It's on jazziz.com. Become a subscriber. You can become a digital subscriber and unlock instant access. Check it out, jazziz.com/subscribe. All right. Our guest today, I'm super, super excited about. He's a phenomenal guitarist, kind of an icon of the fusion movement. You know him from such albums as Elegant Gypsy, Friday Night in San Francisco, Land of the Midnight Sun. You know him from Return to Forever. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the great Al Di Meola. Al.
Hey, guys.
Hey, man.
How are you?
Going? Good.
We're doing good. Doing good. I'm in my studio here in New Jersey, and just hunkered down like everybody else.
Yeah, man. It's crazy, crazy times. How have you been getting through it? How have you been surviving? You know, what are you listening to? What are you watching? What are you baking?
More than ever, I'm writing, and it kind of takes my attention off of the severity of what's happening out there. Don't go out at all, really.
Yeah. It's good you're being safe, man. Al, we should mention, just rolled out of bed and he already looks that good. It's not fair. It's not fair, man. Al, we're very happy to have you on the show. You have a new album out right now.
Yeah.
Called Across the Universe.
I got it right here. Look at this.
There it is, man. That's nice. Is that the vinyl?
This photo was taken in Hamburg, right in the same place. It's actually the entrance to one of the places that they lived when they were playing the clubs there.
Oh, very cool. It's an excellent album. You revisit the Beatles songbook.
Right.
This is your second time paging through it. Back in 2013, you did so with All Your Life. But this is I've been spinning a lot around the office. It's a great album. If you wouldn't mind, I mean, we've got Al Di Meola here. He's got his guitar. He just released an album of Beatles tunes. I don't even know why I'm still talking, man. Al, we'll be able to hear a little bit from the new project?
I haven't warmed up, but I could just play something.
Oh yeah, man. That was beautiful. Thank you, Al. So beautiful, in fact, that look, we attracted someone off the street. Look who's hey, Michael, joining us for brunch.
Michael.
Good morning, Al. Good morning, Brian. By the way, thank you, Brian, for being my alarm clock, and because you woke me up and I woke Al up, so we're all good now.
You guys look so good for just rolling out of bed, man. I don't know what it is.
Al, it's great to see you again. It's been a while. Last time I saw you, I think, was in one of the Jazziz clubs, and
that has to be 15 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, no, it was probably close to 10 though, and
Yeah.
I never told you this, but I wanted to tell everyone who's watching that my first jazz album was Romantic Warrior.
Ah.
And that really turned me around. Before that, I was listening to progressive rock. And then I heard this album that kind of bridged that rock jazz thing. And this acoustic guitarist was on there. And I'm like, who is this guy? And of course, that was my introduction to you. And we've enjoyed everything you've done since then. So it's wonderful to have you on this daily brunch. And I guess we have our coffee here.
That's right. I went for tea this morning, but yes, I concur. It's nice to have you, Al. And let me just, before we go any further, let me just mention to everyone watching on Facebook or YouTube, please feel free to drop us a line, say hello to Al. If you have a question for Al, Dennis Johnson saying hello, please submit your question and we will ask it on air. Al, I think it's awesome that there's a Beatles tribute out right now because the Beatles kind of represent the past and the present for you. I know they were a major influence. I know you're an Elvis Presley guy. He kind of, sparked your passion for music. But I know the Beatles were also a major influence just in getting you into music in the first place. Isn't that so?
Yeah. Well, my sister was 7 years older than myself, so she came home with the records. And I remember when she came home with Meet the Beatles, and they were kind of like just beginning to be the rage, and it was all over the radio. You can hear them. And then the Ed Sullivan Show, which a lot of us have caught, I think like most of the nation saw that show.
Yeah.
And that did it. It was great then, and it's great now.
And what I'm wondering is, how has your appreciation for their musicality evolved? You hear them as a teenager and it's one thing. You hear them, years later, as a professional musician. What can you appreciate about them now that you didn't, beforehand or couldn't necessarily?
Well, when you're that young, you're very impressed. You're impressionable with most of what's coming out.
Right.
A lot of the stuff from England, L.A., San Francisco, I was knocked out with the whole thing. And at the same time, I was taking lessons at 9, 10 years old from an old school jazz player. But he also dug the Beatles. But anyway, there was the whole period of the Beatles in the 60s. I loved all the periods, especially when I went into Magical Mystery Tour and Sgt. Pepper and the White Album. But then when they went solo, I kind of lost a little bit of interest, and then I went heavy into jazz and jazz rock. But then it wasn't until like 10 years ago I got back into hearing the Beatles, because a lot of jazz and jazz rock started to get very far out.
Yeah.
Way far away from melody, except for smooth jazz. But I was never really into smooth jazz. So, for me, a lot of the jazz guys that I adore and I think have great improvisational skills seem to have almost forgotten or put melody on the back burner. And then when you hear these great melodies of the Beatles behind this really beautiful harmony, when you examine the pieces of music that they've written, they have really nice chords behind that, really conducive for stretching on and doing something with. So I just saw it as an opportunity to revisit these melodies that go straight to your heart and bring a smile to your face, and I think there's a lot of aesthetic to the music, a lot of it, from Your Mother Should Know all the way on down. All of these tunes that I have on the record are just perfectly chosen to do things with.
Absolutely. And your approach was a little different this time around. You really stayed true to a lot of the melodies on this, and you've got some great ones here. Here Comes the Sun, Golden Slumbers Medley, Dear Prudence, Norwegian Wood, Mother Nature's Son. You really kind of stayed true to the melody, and like you said, let it speak for itself, because they do stand the test of time.
Well, I've heard jazz guys will take the melody so far out.
Yeah.
If they ever did a Beatle cover, you can never recognize the song. Or if you start altering the harmony, to the point of adding so many different accidentals to the actual chord, it really kind of almost ruins the song. But what I did was I took the harmonic movement and I syncopated in an arpeggiated way a lot of the underneath the melody. The harmonies that move in that kind of fashion made it more interesting, than if I had played it like chord and no chords, like Paul would do on the piano, you know what I mean, or something.
I hear you.
I couldn't get away with that without a voice and lyrics,
Right. Speaking of Paul, I've heard you speak especially fondly of Paul's bass playing, and how it was so kind of revolutionary. It was so melodic. It was almost like a counter melody to what everyone else was doing.
It was. I mean, Sgt. Pepper was a really great example of that. It was a super important part of the song, and right out front too. It was counter melody.
And to kind of recapture some of that authenticity, you used a Rickenbacker, the same bass, right? That Paul used.
The same one
on the album.
Same very cool, gauge strings and everything. And it's funny. I borrowed it from a friend of mine, and he said this is the same exact setup. And when I plugged it in, I said, "Yep, that's the sound." So it was really cool to have that, and I got to play some drums on it and all the percussion, virtually all the percussion except for the tabla.
Nice. Yeah, you do it all. And like we should mention, it's a fantastic album. It is out right now. It's on Amazon. It's all the streaming services. Released March 13th on Ear Music. People, definitely check it out. It is absolutely worth it. All right, Al, let's walk it back, man, because I know this is what a lot of people are curious to hear about. This is certainly what I'm curious to hear about. Okay. Return to Forever, man. You joined that group at 19 years old.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's right.
Replacing the great Bill Connors, so huge shoes to fill.
Well, it's funny, but actually, I filled the shoes of Earl Klugh.
Earl Klugh, yeah. It was
so Bill had left.
Just as big shoes to fill.
They found Earl, as a quick replacement, and then I saw the band with Earl. I saw actually with Bill first, and then I saw with Earl when I was at Berklee School of Music, and at the Orpheum Theater. And I remember, Earl's a great player and everything. It wasn't quite his style, the high energy thing.
Right.
So I just made a mention to a friend of mine back in New Jersey. He's like almost like my big brother. But he was Michael Bayukas was an amateur recording engineer, and I just told him about it. I said, "Man, they have Earl playing with Return to Forever now. Boy, I would love to play with that band. If I ever had the chance, it would be amazing." This is my favorite band at the time.
Yeah.
So he just took it upon himself to go into New York City and just find out where Chick's playing, and then try to find the management. And Michael actually had tapes of me that he had recorded when I was playing with Barry Miles Quartet, another great pianist. Barry Miles, and actually one of the first fusion groups was with Barry Miles,
right?
And so he had a really good recording of a New Year's Eve show I did with Barry, and he was able to convince them and find them, and and played the tape for them. And then I got that call from Chick up in Boston that changed my life.
Amazing, man. It's like saying you want to play for the Yankees, and next thing you know, you're there in Yankee Stadium. Very cool. Very cool. Now,
the first show was Carnegie Hall. So it was,
oh my God.
So only 3 days later, and the whole trip of like leaving Boston, and I remember telling my girlfriend, I'm leaving. She goes, "Where are you going, to the store?" I said, "No, I'm going to New York to play at Carnegie Hall." This chick told me right away, "I need you to play Carnegie Hall on our first show." And I go, "Holy Jesus!" So I went home. I went to New Jersey. knocked on the screen door, and my mother comes to the door. What are you doing home from school? I said, I'm playing Carnegie Hall on Tuesday. I'll never forget my father in the background at the table, with the paper while he's eating it. No, you're not. Come on. What are you doing home?
Oh man. Parents, man, they're always right. They always give you
no way could that be
a
happening
second
so
degree.
fast.
Right. That's hilarious, man. And it's, you joined the group. A lot of people forget they started kind of as an avant-garde outfit and then got progressively more jazz rock. And when you joined the group, they were at the height of the jazz rock thing. That first album that you joined them for, was that Where Have I Known You Before? Was that the first one?
Yeah.
Okay. What was it like?
We recorded that at the record plant, and it was at the end of the tour in July. So our first show was like July 3rd, I think, in 1974 at Carnegie. And then at the end of July, after touring the whole month, we went into a studio called the Record Plant on, I guess it was 43rd Street or 44th off of 8th. And the next room was John Lennon. So I got to see John Lennon a lot.
Wow.
And I thought I was in heaven. It was amazing.
Wow, man. And then, of course, you really hit your stride with the follow-up, No Mystery. Yeah. And that was an interesting project because everyone from the band contributed a song, right?
Well, yeah, that's what Chick wanted that, and that was kind of pushed us to write. I didn't want to write at all.
I was going to ask. Yeah. How, was it nerve-wracking to show us a tune?
I don't know why he wanted us to write, but he just thought it would be a good thing, and which I look back at it and I credit him for that. It's wonderful. And
your tune was First Newborn.
They wanted to play that song, all of them.
That's a smoking song, man.
Tour in 2008, and I said, no, I don't like that song. Oh, God, it was the first thing I wrote, and I didn't think it was that great, but they liked the song. And,
it's a smoking song, one of the standouts for sure. Yeah.
Oh my God, compared to what I've been writing after that, it was not one of my favorite.
Yeah. One of the things I was going to ask is that I seem to recall seeing you, Al, with RTF.
Yeah.
At Asbury Park Convention Center, like in the 70s.
Oh, maybe not.
Maybe 80, maybe early 80s.
No, I don't remember. I don't remember that.
Yeah, and it was weird because I it was before of my jazz epiphany, and it was for I think Return to Forever opened for Focus. Remember that hit song Hocus Pocus with Jan Ackerman?
Yeah.
Maybe that may have been the Bill Connor era.
Yeah, I think it was Bill. Bill. I kind of heard about that.
I think I made the connection. Asbury Park, Al Meola, New Jersey, but you live in North Jersey.
I'm losing you.
Yeah, you're in North Jersey, isn't that correct?
Yeah.
You're like old Tapan. I've actually been to Old Tapan.
Well, Larry Rosen, remember him?
I was at Larry Rosen's house.
His backyard is on my backside, so we connect. Yeah, the properties connect.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm looking right at his house when I look out my kitchen window.
Does Hazel still live there?
No, Hazel lives in Fisher Island.
Yeah, no, I know she lives in Florida. I didn't know if they kept the New Jersey.
They sold a while ago.
Yeah.
They were here in the heyday of GRP.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We were there during those days. Speaking of New Jersey, and so you live in New Jersey. I grew up in New Jersey. I grew up in Asbury Park, and down the street, there was this guy who everyone thought was the rock star of my elementary school, junior high days. And there was a guy in my band who actually played in his band, and everyone say, yeah, this guy Bruce he's just on fire. We were like, yeah, that guy Bruce is great. Of course, we never could imagine he became the rock legend.
Yeah, I still say that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that happened.
So I got a question for you about the different roles that you've played as leader, band member. Do you have a favorite? I mean, what did you enjoy most aside from your solo career? Was it the acoustic records with Paco and John McLaughlin? Was it Return to Forever? Was it some of these other? What did you enjoy doing the most?
Oh, the most. There were elements of both that I enjoyed. I never looked at it as I like this one more than the other. They were both vastly different, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
But I don't know. I don't know which one I liked more. There were moments when I thought I liked this one more, and there was moments
Right.
when I thought the other one. You know what I mean? They were both great in the sense that it made me grow faster.
Mhm.
It made me stretch. It made me want to be better and live up to, and then surpass in some ways. Because if you look at the guitar trio, it was a wonderful thing that we had this healthy kind of competition. And if you kind of relate it to the Beatles, so did John and Paul. Like, you know,
Mhm.
John would come in with Strawberry Fields and blow Paul away. And then Paul said, "Oh man, I got to go out and write a great song." So he would write Penny Lane. But we had that kind of competition on the stage, even though there was an audience in front of us. If Paco was the first guy to take a solo, it was usually phenomenal. And then so if it was John's turn after that, John, I could just see in John's eyes, he wanted to play something that was equally, if not more, great. And so then it was my turn. I said, "Holy shit, what am I going to come up with?" You know, you know. So you know, when you listen back at it, which by the way, I had a stream from my studio on Saturday, and I introduced one of the tracks from the new Saturday Night in San Francisco tapes that I had in my vault for 40 years. It's
Mm.
actually going to come out next year, and people
Great.
just flipped out. You know, it was that good. Even the quality was great. We had the tape, the 2-inch magnetic tapes burnt. We had them baked professionally and restored all of the sound. It's killer.
Wow.
Nice, man.
John was even knocked out with it. So
Well, you know, the one of the things that I found very interesting in your transitions from one to the next. You know, I knew you as this blazing, just articulate, just lightning speed guitarist. I had never heard that before. And then all of a sudden, you slowed down. It slowed down to the point where, actually, I remember you were the cover story of Jazziz. I want to say back in 1985,
yeah.
and the cover story was called "Race with the Devil Ends." One of Al's great tunes, everybody, and it you kind of went into that very cool melodic, uh, almost ambient synthesizer, synclavier.
Oh, that was just like soaring through a dream time.
Yeah,
Yeah. That was yeah. That's when
but
I had signed with Manhattan Records, and you know there was that other side of me that you know was what the composer had emerged. You know, and I
Mhm.
wanted to do more kind of deeper kind of stuff than I mean I think composition was always there, but it was always the velocity of the technique that was people have remembered from the early years, but there was a lot more to express. And as time went on, the compositions became more and more important than lengthy, long, action filled kind of soloing. Uh, and that's the way it is today. I mean, I'm more of a composer than I am of a a showy guitar player.
Yeah, but when you want to show, you show up.
Yeah, but the emphasis now is on the composition because that's what
Yeah.
really holds the audience more so. You can bore an audience with long solos no matter what level you're at, and that's what I found with boy. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. But RTF, when we did the reunion tour, the second half of our show were all these unaccompanied solos that went on forever and ever. So you had a long drum solo, long bass solo, and I was kind of like, shit, why don't we just do shorter solos and play more of the kind of hits that people remember of RTF, like Senor Mouse and
Sure.
Demon the Mothership, great songs. And it wasn't what he wanted to do. And I have some feelings about that band that, I really think we made some I won't say we, I think he made some terrible mistakes in the fact that, there should have been 5 Romantic Warriors, not one. There should have been more,
Yeah.
the smart bands that are out there that had really bad internal problems. I don't even think we had really bad internal problems.
Right, right.
But bands that had horrible internal problems, like the Eagles or the Allman Brothers, or many, many, many bands, Stones, even between Mick and Keith, they know what's important.
Right.
What's important is to keep it going, man. It's the nucleus of it. This, is so important, and they cleaned up.
That really was a special album, though, Al, Romantic Warrior.
Yeah, but there could
for
have been
so many.
at least 5.
Yeah, I mean,
there was
just
no reason for that band to disband, and the chick went off and did the Music Magic. Oh my God, I remember what he said. He goes, "I'm going to hand the contract back to Columbia because I want to go in a different direction." We had just signed a multi-million-dollar contract.
Wow.
And all of us were like, "Oh no!" And it was all because we wouldn't take Gail into the band. We all had to vote. We didn't want a lead vocalist in that band because the image of that band was not that. And that was his girlfriend. So we all voted. We all voted to no, including the management, no. And so chick, was obviously upset, and he handed the contract back to Bruce Lundvall. Bruce Lundvall goes, "Are you kidding me? In all my years, I've never had an artist walk in and say he wants to, disband." Problem was, we were all signed on the contract.
Wow.
So that's why God made music lawyers. I did good.
There you go. There you go.
But anyway, yeah, I figured, look, he's going to realize at some point he made a mistake. So he did at some point, a couple of years later. And then we did a reunion tour in '83. Didn't last long. We had great plans, and then he flipped again and went a different direction. But that's Chick. Chick likes a lot of different idioms. And, I just feel as though it's a shame because we could have, even though he likes to do a lot of different things and he's phenomenal in all of them, I still say that band should have made another, bunch of landmark records.
Did you know you were really hitting your stride with that album? I mean, you were out there. There was the story behind the recording of that album. It's interesting. You were out on the ranch in Colorado.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We were high up in the Rockies.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Caribou Ranch was an amazing studio that the band Chicago did all the records. In fact, the producer of the show in Chicago owned it. He's like a 12,000 acre ranch.
Whose idea was it to bring you out to that ranch? Was that Chick's?
No, I don't know. Maybe the management, found it and said, this is a cool place. When you're there, you're kind of isolated and, that you can really focus. So the studio was amazing, state of the art in this giant barn. And they had cabins on the property, and we each had our own cabin, and we did a lot of horse riding, and it was amazing, an amazing experience. I also recorded an album there on my own called Scenario, where I had Phil Collins as a guest and Jan Hammer, and was on the whole record. And yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. In addition to the supergroup at the time, the sound quality of Romantic Warrior is remarkable. I mean, you put it up today with such improved technology, you still hear that album and it just sounds great.
Well, it's analog, there you go. Analog, I still say, has a bigger punch, fatter, bigger. And we had an engineer from the Ken Scott School in London, and those guys always got the best sound, the English engineers. And they had a great board in there. I think it was a Trident board, so it was like very fat sounding. Unfortunately, the studio actually was state of the art 1960s, so there was a lot of carpeting. There wasn't a lot of ambient sound, but he still got a big fat sound there.
Nice. Well, I guess things happen for a reason in terms of Return to Forever, because you would go on to an amazing career as a leader,
right?
Beginning with Land of the Midnight Sun, which had a lot of the cats from RTF come and join you, along with unmistakable Jaco on the bass.
Yeah, that was the first record he ever recorded on.
Really?
First time in the studio ever.
Really? So wait, how'd you hook up with Jaco? Well, this was before Matheny?
Well, I knew of him when I was in high school because, all the Jersey guys would go on spring break down to Fort Lauderdale.
That's right. They still do.
And so I'm in Fort Lauderdale. I must have been 17 years old and 16, whatever. And people were talking about this local bass player that's phenomenal. So I knew about him. Wow. And somehow I got in touch with him. So I was the one, and then only a couple of years later, I'm in RTF, and I ran into Bobby Colomby, the drummer of Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and he was looking for a bass player. So I recommended Jaco. So Jaco joined Blood, Sweat, and Tears, who happened to have done some shows with RTF. That led to Zawinul finding out about him, and then he wound up in Weather Report.
Wow, man! So you really brought Jaco up from the farm system, huh?
I did.
Amazing.
I mean, I actually, but what was cool was when he got the gig with Weather Report, he became an instant rock star.
Yeah,
and rightfully, and I was fortunate to have my record Elegant Gypsy come out the same week as Heavy Weather. So CBS at the time, before it became Sony, they said, this is under Bruce Lundvall's guidance, and his plan was to put us out on tour together, co-build tour, supporting both of those records. So I was hanging out with Joe and Jaco every night, and it was amazing. I mean, just phenomenal.
I mean, you seem to really be able to, you've got a knack for describing bass players and their talents. What was so special about Jaco? What did he bring to the table in that group?
No one had played like him before.
Yeah. A real revolutionary.
Totally blew if you were a bass player, you would just very
hang it up
for a long time. It was so different and mind-blowing that I don't know, it was not like nobody before, and musicality was sick.
Yeah, man. Very cool.
He would walk around just say, "Look, I'm the greatest musician in the world."
That's how he'd introduce himself.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, what a cock. You know what? He's right.
He could say it. He's earned it.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
But then you got, of course, little by little, he got more and more into the bad stuff. And,
yeah, tragic, man. Died so young,
I know.
the way he went out in that bar fight. But that was very cool. I did not realize that was his first recording and that you would kind of set him up for that Weather Report gig. So very cool.
Well, he went from my recording to Pat Metheny's.
Bright Size Life. Yeah.
When I'm done with this, I'm flying up to Boston.
Cool, man.
To record with Pat. I said, okay, well, as long as you got me first.
You always got that. You can claim that over Pat. Very cool. You mentioned Elegant Gypsy. That was the follow-up. And that was really when the world got to see this flamenco side of you, in the spotlight. How did flamenco music come into the equation with regard to your playing? Had it always been an interest?
I'm not really, I'm not a flamenco player at all, actually. I'm just more of I'm a Latin influenced guitarist. I hung out in a lot of Latin clubs when I was a kid by myself. I really had just a good sensibility to Latin rhythms and things like that. So Paco and I got along because we both had a strong sense of playing against the clave and knowing how to play, had the feeling of the upbeat. And so rhythmically, we were a very good match. But I don't come from flamenco, nor do I consider myself a flamenco player. But the magic in that track we did on Elegant Gypsy, which was called Mediterranean Sundance, was the fact that we just had really great interplay, and we both had a sense of this Latin thing, so that really worked well for the trio as well. Whenever we played rhythm together for John, it was pretty cool, pretty supreme,
Absolutely. And I'm wondering if you could give an example of, like you mentioned, this Latin feel that you were able to put your own spin on, just a groove that you might have set up. It could be impromptu. It could be something from, Mediterranean Sundance, just so people get a sense of what you're talking about.
Scott, tap your foot, right?
Yeah.
It's the whole thing is tapping your quarter notes with your foot. It's the most important thing. So, and having the upper body's playing the counter rhythms.
Okay.
And if you're playing the counter rhythms that are up here, and it influences the time down there, then that's not good. So the thing is to be completely independent. So if I'm tapping this, on underneath, right? The tapping. So if that influences the time, the total hypnosis of the part disappears. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm tapping under that.
So it's the percussive on top of the rhythmic that makes
first.
that magic. Wow.
Oh yeah, man.
Sorry, I didn't put my shoes on.
That's all right. I haven't put my shoes on in 3 weeks, Al. So don't even worry about it, man.
Hey, I brought my guitar out.
Here we go. This is going to be a real treat, ladies and
No,
gentlemen.
no, believe me, I am not going to touch it. But I think now I can say that in my bio that I performed with Al de Meola.
Okay.
Right?
There you go.
So the funny thing is, so I've been playing guitar my whole life, and I'm the worst guitarist on the planet. So I'll put this down now. But I remember one night being out with Rittenauer for dinner.
Oh, yeah.
And someone came up to us, noticed Lee, and then Lee said, "Oh, you must know Michael Fagan, the publisher of Jazziz." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, you're a guitarist too." And I made the mistake by saying yes. And then I said, No. I'm not a guitarist. I own a guitar. And that's what I do. I collect guitars.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We'll leave it at that.
How many do you have?
Well, I've given some to my kids who I think have sold them when they were in college. But I had an Adamus and this Yamaha. I had a Takamine Cutaway. I've had a Fender Telecaster. I've had a bunch of guitars, but it's amazing that I've been playing as long as I have, and I'm still so terrible. And so I decided rather than be a player, I'm going to be a listener. You have a few guitars over there, I noticed.
Yeah.
I have. They're everywhere in the room. You know.
Wow. See, I love guitars.
I know. Not to show off or anything, but I just
I
a lot of them, a lot of cases all over. And then I have a guitar room, kind of like a messy wine room.
Wow.
I know asking you, to pick a favorite or a prized possession is like, asking you to pick a favorite child, but is there, maybe a top 3 of items you're especially proud of in that collection?
Well, the one I played, I've recorded on a lot of records, maybe at least 20, 25 records, and I take it on the road now. And that orange one with the cutaway is a supreme sound, very clear. And this one is the one. Oh, this is a good one. Can you see this Les Paul?
Oh yeah.
This is the one that I played when I joined Chick Corea.
Oh wow.
And this is the elegant Gypsy guitar as well.
There it
the
is.
Land of the Midnight
in the
Sun,
flesh.
an elegant Gypsy guitar. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool, man. Hey, it was interesting to hear you say that, you don't consider yourself a flamenco purist.
No.
Because, in a lot of ways, Paco de Lucia comes from that tradition.
Yeah.
And from what I was reading, he got some flack from flamenco purists for kind of scratching this itch. And you kind of defended him and said, you know what? This is good for the tradition. This is good that he's branching out.
Well, all the fusion guys got it from the old school jazz guys. They got reamed from them.
Yeah.
As soon as the volume went up, the old school guys, they frowned on Chick and Zawinul, and they even frowned on Miles when he went. But so it happened with Paco because he was trying to advance the standard flamenco kind of cadence and branch out into different harmonies and different types of improvisation. So the purists, they gave him a hard time, just like they gave Astor Piazzolla a hard time for expanding the tango the way he did. I mean, he wanted to abandon the tango, but so he went to Paris to study with Nadia Boulanger to just become a classical composer. He was so fed up with tango, but she was the one that said, no, your soul is tango. Retain that, put that in the music.
Right.
So that's how the music of, the new tango emerged, blending the classical with the tango. So the fusion basically is that it's really just, taking elements of both some classical, jazz, Latin, and we've created that idiom. And RTF and Mahavishnu Weather Report were at the forefront of a new, pioneering sound with the top 3 bands.
Yep. Well, and you were too, from an acoustic perspective, especially, you can't mention you and Paco without mentioning Friday Night in San Francisco. One of the great acoustic.
7 million.
7 million. Wow, man.
And I have the Saturday Night in San Francisco. I've had it for 40 years behind that wall. Behind that wall is a giant tape vault. And I've mentioned it to the guys over the years, but it's like it went on deaf ears, So I said, guys, I have all of the tapes. And the management was a pain. The record company, at the time, different people at the record company. It was all becoming like just a hassle. So I said, hell with it. If the guys aren't excited about it, I'm not going to do it. So it was only recently that I said, you know what, I better have those tapes baked again before I lose them forever.
Yeah.
So recently I just did it on my own. I found a professional engineer that knows how to bake the tapes and restore the sound. And lo and behold, the sound was, perfect. So I said, you know what, let me try John again. John's now 70 something years old.
Yeah.
Maybe he's mellowed a bit. And you got to at least hear these performances. So he comes back to me because he didn't even know there was anything left. I said, no, we got other tracks, not the same tracks.
How many hours of music?
Yeah.
So we have one of his, one of mine, one of Paco's that are not on the first record. People have never
brand
heard
new
them.
tunes. Wow.
And we were at the end of a 2-month tour, so our chops were crazy fast.
Yeah.
Like I mean, none of us can play like that. I mean, Paco's gone, but John and we can never do that now. It was an amazing period of time. And so I played it for him, and he flipped out. So now we have a record company called Impex. It was a high-end company that flipped out when they heard the tracks, and they want to release it on, a high-end format, high-resolution format. Also, they have Friday Night in San Francisco that they've put out and repackaged. It's beautiful. I saw it in Japan. It's amazing. So this will come out April next year.
April next year. Wow. Very nice. Great. Folks listening. Something to look forward to.
I debuted a piece on my own stream, my live stream on Saturday, and it's on my Facebook.
It's on your Facebook page? Okay, cool. So people check it out. Al's Facebook page.
Yeah, I mean, I actually wrote a new piece called Esperanza, which means hope. Okay. And kind of the sentiment of the time. And so I debuted this new piece. I played a piece of another original and a piece of Piazzolla, and then I introduced this new track, old track from Saturday Night in San Francisco. People flipped.
Wow.
Very cool. Any chance we can hear just a little bit of Esperanza?
Esperanza. Oh my God. It's a brand new piece.
Yeah. We'd love to hear it, man.
To read it.
This is a brand new Al Di Meola.
Anyway, that's a little taste of it.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Just beautiful. Just beautiful. Hey, while you were playing, we got a reminder, I think, from someone on Facebook.
Yeah.
From that night in San Francisco. Did you bring out Steve Morse?
Well, what happened was I decided not to do that tour. I had really bad back problems,
Okay.
so I kind of close to the tour, I said I don't think I could do it, and so they panicked and they got Steve Morris, and then Paco called me up after rehearsing with him and said, "Please, man, you gotta do this. You gotta do this." I said, "Oh man." I said I knew what he was talking about because he misses having the rhythm aspect.
Right.
You know? And Steve's a wonderful soloist, but I think the rhythm thing was what, where Paco and I got along really well.
Yeah.
And so I decided to jump back in, but we felt it would be a little bad for kind of bad for Steve to tell him that he's not doing it now. So we gave him the opening slot to the show, and then we had him join us for the encore.
Nice.
So that's how that happened. So he did a little solo before we went on, and then he joined us for the last encore piece.
Very cool. Thank you to Tim Burr on Facebook for reminding us that Steve
Thank you, Tim.
was in that group. Al, I want to end just talking about the new album, Across the Universe. As we all mentioned, it is gorgeous. How did you settle on? There's so many amazing tunes, to pick here, but the set list for this tune, because you've got some deep cuts in here.
Well, a lot of the songs of the Beatles were 2 minutes.
Right.
Some of them was a little less, some of them a little longer. Like Norwegian Wood is a beautiful melody. You don't listen to that and go, "Oh my God, it's too short." Beautiful, concise, aesthetic.
Yeah.
The whole world knows that melody and the bridge, and it's just, I felt, man, it's not if you take the lyrics and the voice out, you're left with a very short, tiny piece under 2 minutes. So I felt compelled to extend it as an instrumental and write some sections for it, and then revisit the melody throughout,
Gotcha.
And then I got this tabla player from India to play on it. It was amazing. And, so I did a lot of that. Same with Strawberry Fields. I would write a center piece for it. And, because I felt it needed more. That's all.
Right. But you preserve kind of the kernel of the thing. That's the most important thing.
Well, on this record, because the first record, I displaced melody a little bit more.
Kind of right.
It was a little bit more avant,
Yes.
And this one, I wanted to go, nail the melodies, but then displace everything else under it, But in some places, play exactly what they did. It was like some of the Ringo fills. I said, you just expect that, and I just said, what the hell? It'd be a gas just to do that,
Yeah, and I
give some
also
lip to Ringo.
noticed the interesting thing about the new record, Across the Universe, is that you hold on to the melody, but then you hear little pieces of Al Di Meola through the years.
Yeah.
Like this style that you did on one album, this style you did on another. Oh, this riff kind of reminds me of that riff. So if for Al Di Meola fans, they're going to say, oh yeah, I remember hearing that one time before on another Al Di Meola project. And then for those who don't have earlier projects, the melodies carry. And certainly the guitar playing does well as well.
Yeah, well, there was a method to the madness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like, for instance, if you had a 4/4 bar that was of the original Beatles melody, you know, I might extend the bar for 2 beats so I can fit in an Al Di Meola thing. You know, and so I had rewritten a lot of it to accommodate some of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, yeah, I'm very proud of the record. It was a lot of fun to do this, and it brought just great feeling, you know. That's what the Beatles music does. It brings you back to a point in time that was just beautiful.
And we could all use that right now, brother. So yeah, I want to mention, you know, Al was the cover of our February digital issue, which is up on our site right now. You become a subscriber, you unlock access to the feature story we did on Al. He had a wonderful interview about the Beatles. That's all at jazziz.com/subscribe. As a matter of fact, right now we're offering 3 months of unlimited digital access for just 99 cents per month. Plus, you get a complimentary print issue that's coming out in summer. So, and it's a fusion issue, a theme Al knows all too well. But there is Al's February digital issue cover. Check it out at jazziz.com. Al, before we go, I mean, is there any way we could get you to play just a little snippet of something else from the new album?
Sure. Let me think. I'm not warmed up, but I'll play what I can remember.
The alternatives, we have Michael play, and I don't think anyone wants to hear that.
Well, yeah, and also Al Di Meola not warmed up sounds better than most guitarists warmed up. So.
Exactly.
Let me see, which one should I do? I'm thinking. Where's the music?
In the meantime, we should mention Al's new album, Across the Universe, available now.
Yeah, a little taste.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That's great.
Well, Al, I just want to say, you know, this has been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
My pleasure.
Thank you again for joining us for brunch. And like we said, where's the best place for people to follow along with all things Al Di Meola right now?
Well, for my official Facebook, you know,
okay.
Instagram, I guess, and you know, my wife takes care of all of that. She does a great job, and yeah, we're posting a lot, and we have 3 live streams that are still up there.
Okay.
On 3 different Saturdays recently, and yeah, and I had luckily I had my keyboardist here from Spain who's kind of stuck here, so we were doing a lot of duets, and we got the first one. We had 300,000 viewers on the first, well, actually 350 now.
Nice. Wow. Excellent. Well, I will add one more to that. I'm sure Michael will too. And I know a lot of our viewers will. Please check that out. Al Di Meola's Facebook page. The new album is Across the Universe. It's streaming and available everywhere. Saturday night in San Francisco on the horizon. There it is. There's a new one. And we may have a Saturday night in San Francisco on the horizon. So that could be very,
That's
very
in
cool.
April.
In April of next year.
Yeah.
Things will hopefully be back to normal by then.
Oh, man.
Al, man, thank you again so much for joining us for brunch.
My pleasure.
This has been awesome. Stay
Thanks, Al.
safe.
Nice to see you.
Stay healthy. And we'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m., folks.
Take care, guys.
Take care,
Thank you
everyone.
so much. All the best.
Bye.